The Lost Signals present
Children of the Night.
a celebration of universal horror
One more picture, then we will dig it out.
and another Halloween sequel
They'll survive its memory.
with in-depth analysis,
Now I know what it feels like to be God.
adult content,
The drugs I took seemed to light up my brain.
adult language,
You have to open graves, find girls to fall in love with.
and spoilers.
Bela became a wolf, and you killed him.
Join us.
Happy Halloween. Or should I say, Happy Mediocre Halloween.
Mediocre Halloween.
I'm Jonathan E. Manser here with Christopher Morgan,
And I'm dead inside.
Scott Thurlow,
And I'm only half of pure evil.
and Stephen Ramosi.
And I'm here too.
And today, as per our Halloween tradition, we are going through the Halloween movies. And today we're doing Halloween 4, The Something of Michael Myers.
I believe it's the return officially. But it doesn't
Sure.
actually matter. Yeah, go on.
I have a better one with our funny log lines today. Halloween 4, Season of the Loomis.
Mm-hmm. He's
All right.
back, baby.
And more burnt than ever.
yeah.
Stephen, would you like to tell us the plot of this masterpiece?
Sure.
He'll sure try to remember it.
So, this introduces Michael Myers' niece, who is a little girl who is with a foster family. Her name is Jamie, which I think you can all figure out what that's a nod to. If you can't, I'll explain it right now. It's Jamie Lee Curtis is the name of
What?
the original protagonist from Halloween.
way.
Really?
Mind blown.
Anyway, Michael Myers decides to track her down, killing a fair amount of people along the way. I remember... So, we saw this 4 days ago. I remember one of the kills, which was a shotgun through the chest. Like,
As if it were
one
like
of us,
a
like,
sword.
we were watching with, frequent Lost Signals
banter commentary.
Yeah, sure. Commentator, Rich, and Michael Myers picked up a shotgun and he said, "What the hell?" As though Michael Myers was going to shoot somebody, which obviously was never going to be the case. And then Michael Myers rams the shotgun
He like
through this
bayoneted
guy's
the
chest
dude without a bayonet.
Yeah. And that's the one kill I remember. So
You don't remember Finger Through the Forehead? We'll get that out
He-
later, I guess.
oh yeah, anyway. Michael Myers chases down Jamie, played by Danielle Harris, who apparently I had never seen 4, 5, or 6 coming into this, so I just saw 4. Apparently she is a recurring character for the next 2 as well. He chases her down throughout the movie, and her babysitter tries to save her. Successfully, I guess.
Her foster sister, because Jamie's an orphan.
Yeah. Don't never forget the fact that Jamie is an orphan.
Right, Jamie is an orphan.
Yes, she is.
And it ends up on like a rooftop chase with Michael Myers chasing them on a rooftop, which never made much sense to me.
Because the rest of the movie made sense, though.
And then the Jamie gets away, but decides to also become Michael Myers, apparently, or gets his soul in her or some shit.
All right, there was some bullshit.
It's
where,
unclear.
It's not unclear, but I'll address the broad things in general. It wasn't unclear to me, and here's why in a second. But again, it's the structure of every Halloween movie. Michael Myers escapes and goes back to kill some relative, or now it happens to be his estranged niece, or who is an quote unquote orphan, as the kids at school never forget. But if you recall, what happens is towards the end, they finally they corner Michael Myers and they kill him, quote unquote, and she goes to touch his hand, and then to me that isn't implied at the end. That's again, as you mentioned, his evilness, corrupting her, I guess. But that's supposed to explain it, at least to me, why she murders her mother at the end.
I got that, but it was very weak.
Sure. First of all, like a Targaryen, it skips a generation every time.
Okay.
So this is the next generation.
Removed.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the next generation.
Sure.
This one. I
Should've
think that's
called
what
it
they're. We're
Michael
going
Myers, the
for.
next generation.
Wait,
Well, technically, according to canon, she is the next generation. She's Laurie's daughter, right? So she's the next generation after Michael. So it just goes straight down the line. But
Yes.
but it goes diagonally, I think.
Sure.
You know, what we saw here was screenwriting 101. They got to the ending. I'm like, how do we end this thing? Oh, I got an idea. Let's make her kill somebody in a clown suit because callback.
Because of the first
You know
one.
what? Fuck that. Like that was nowhere near the worst part of this movie. In fact, that was probably the most interesting and memorable part.
I was going to say, when this first came out, that was like the only thing I remembered about this movie.
There you go.
And
so it
the
was
fact that I
effective.
could actually smoke in the theater. That was the only two things I remembered
Cool.
about this movie.
So
You're
this
just
is
jealous because you can't smoke in the
Chris
theater.
is 1,000 years old.
You're right, Grandpa.
Suck it.
this is a movie about a man with a plan. He has spent 10 years, whatever it
Yeah,
was,
10 years, exactly.
I think it's
thinking of how to disable everything in this town, one by one, in order to reach a. He wasn't this prepared prior to this. You know,
You're right. He did meticulously take out like the power grid and all that shit.
He was kind of ambling
that's
along
right.
in the first two. The third one, he just appeared in the TV screen for a little bit. But in this one, you know, he's not even. It's not a direct path. It's him throwing a guy into the power grid,
Yeah.
cutting
True.
all the phone lines. Like,
Yeah.
True.
You're right.
he
murdering
blew up-
all the police.
Blew up the gas station. Yeah. Oh, he in the Terminator scene that I wish we had to see.
The best off-screen murder of an entire police station.
Sure.
I can imagine they had this great scene scripted, but ran out of money,
Like
and all it did was cut
It's
to the
certainly
aftermath.
possible. Like,
we have no budget for this. I'm
we blew
sorry,
up a
guys.
gas station. Sorry, we don't have any more budget.
I'm going to go off on a random tangent here.
Okay.
It's like Joseph Conrad's Nostromo, where they're building up to this great battle to happen, and then it just cuts to the end without seeing anything happen. And it's as disappointing as that book is. So,
Sure.
so
Good parallel. Yeah.
So
man,
what are we
like-
giving it?
So I'm looking at a 1. Maybe you guys convince me of a soft 2. But again, like as I said, even though it follows the pattern of like every fucking Halloween movie like before, and even like the new one as we discussed, and you can see that one. You'll hopefully have seen this one before this review. But all I'm saying is like it's the same shit you've
hopefully
seen.
you haven't.
I was gonna say, spoiler alert. I hope you haven't.
Well, regardless, all I'm saying it follows the same pattern.
This
It's
will only
just
take
that
you 45 minutes.
The way it follows the pattern here falls flat a lot of times. Like there's just something boring about it. And again, to me, that's the most damning thing to any movie. Like it's neither memorable for being like awesome or it's so shitty that you're like it was so fucking shitty you have to see it. It's like it was a slog to get through, and that's probably why I'm looking at a 1. It has all the trappings of a Halloween movie, but doesn't do anything with them.
It's like an off-brand Halloween movie.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, if it was a can, it would just say like Halloween on it. You know,
The Dr. Rocket of
with a
Halloween.
blue stripe. Like another callback to Repo Man.
It's like
just
Halloween with 1 L or some shit. Like,
As much as I love Donald Pleasance in these movies, you're right. Even his scenes, they're taking what was memorable about him in the first two, and then they just ramp it up a little bit more. Michael Myers is a little bit more. It's all of the bad things about. It's a bad sequel.
yes.
Yeah.
And the awesome thing about Donald Pleasance's character is his burn makeup kept changing.
I was going to mention that too. Like,
Sorry.
You did say he was more
yeah.
haggard, but it got less and less if you notice because
It's like they decided with
budget.
Play-Doh when they
We
ran out of
definitely
budget.
made that joke, and it was definitely noticeable. Like his scars got like somehow healed throughout because they're like, fuck it.
I mean, they even had a militia kill a kid accidentally, which happened in the second one.
That's right.
It's playing with everything. With just
But not doing like it's just spinning its wheels. I would say. So that's why I'm looking at a 1.
in a
Unless you
lazy way.
it's a Michael Bay sequel,
kind of. I see what you mean though.
but like in the need to ramp up everything.
Yeah. So that's why I'm looking at like it was just unimpressive as another word I can describe it as. So
Can I? So like
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a. This might not work, but I just watched the first 45 minutes or so of Halloween 1 again recently, and since we're never gonna review this again, I might as well bring it up now. There's one scene in that movie where you can see palm trees in the background because it's clearly shot in California, but it's supposed to be Illinois or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie is the palm tree in the background of Halloween movies.
yo, that's actually awesome. I do like that.
There's a whole line of palm trees coming up. So
Yeah, it's very noticeable. It's like an obvious palm tree.
Anyway, I'm going to give it a 1, I think. It's enough for a 1, but it's not enough for a 2.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. 1.
Okay, Scott, tell us about the themes of this film.
There aren't any really, like, again, like tied to what we just said. Seriously, like, it has all the trappings and the framework of a Halloween film, but it's just so fucking hollow. Like, I don't know what it's trying to say. And again, juxtaposed with the Halloween 2018, which we just recently reviewed as well, that movie had something to say and did something with the Halloween, like, again, all of the legacy of it and all the things that are contained therein. This one, I don't know, man. Like, there's nothing that it was trying to impart. There were no, like, speech. Even fucking Loomis didn't really make any speeches to me that sort of would have been thematic in any way. And no one else said or did anything that anywhere near approached being a fucking theme. So it's got to be a 0 for me unless you guys pull something out.
So with this, as the sequels pile up in horror movies,
I love the phrasing of that.
Yeah, that's perfect.
You can go the Nightmare on Elm Street, where she becomes more and more of a joke, so you're laughing along with him.
Right.
Or
The movie's
you
in on the joke.
Like the Jason movies, which become more and more like it's the same thing over and over again. They just keep like, oh, let's
With a
make a more
different setting.
spectacular
Yeah.
death. Oh, let's put Jason in Manhattan.
Jason in space, etc.
Space.
Yeah.
I love that.
This is not there yet, but it's approaching when it's
Yes.
becoming
You could tell.
boring.
I
This is
agree.
not a scary movie by any means, but this thing is like they have nothing to offer as a horror movie. They have nothing to offer as
As like a
social
satire
commentary.
of it, yeah.
So I have a theme, and it's kind of their revisiting of history, which is, I think, their strongest theme throughout this, and the fact that
Yes.
Jamie follows in Michael's footsteps in the beginning, like throughout the movie, actually, when she picks out her clown costume that is the same as the clown costume that Michael murdered his sister in, and, you know, as she's kind of getting, like, ragged on at school for being an orphan.
Jamie's an
Like
orphan.
that echoes the not Michael, but the history of the kid at school in Halloween 1. And
I see where you're going.
you know, like it's kind of like the idea of like history repeats itself in terms of this, which is I think what they were going for. They're like, all right, so now it's the new generation of Michael Myers or something. Like,
I disagree completely with that.
Yeah,
Because I think it's a cynical meant to, especially with the third one, if you take that over Departed, so this is making it you feel comfortable with what came
Let's go back to
before.
what works,
Yeah.
or what we think works.
it was to paraphrase a review that Scott knows, paraphrase of ZP. Hey, make a sequel to Halloween. What do you want it to be about? A sequel. About what?
Halloween,
Sequel.
Halloween.
Halloween. Michael Myers.
Yeah, so I want to add something you said. Like, yeah, that the clown thing was like supposed to be a reference to that, but to me it was all superficial. Like, it's there because they're like, well, let's put it in so people will recognize it. But they didn't do anything with it, is what I'm saying.
And by the way,
towards the end,
yeah, I don't know. I think they did do something with it. Like, honestly, the ending, again, the thing that everybody remembers from this movie, if you're going to remember anything, it's the
Sure,
end.
I mean, yeah, I agree with that.
Where she kills her foster mother, I think, and
stepsister.
is it the sister?
Yeah.
I thought it was.
It doesn't
I thought it was
actually matter.
anyway, is it like it doesn't matter. But
It doesn't matter.
well, she deserved it because she promised Jamie
Jesus
French
fucking
toast,
Christ.
didn't give her French toast, promised her ice cream.
that
didn't
is
get her
true.
Ice cream.
That was
Right.
infuriating when she didn't give her French toast the next
That's
day.
a theme.
The-
If you
the
promise
theme
someone
is
French
false-
toast, always do it. Otherwise,
false
you might get
promises.
murdered.
False promises get you killed
Maybe.
in
But,
the end.
and-
No, but like it was like there was clearly a theme of like her like
Yes.
going down this road of becoming what Michael Myers was, and then she fulfills it at the end. Like, it's a fulfilled theme. I'm not saying it's fucking great, but
But it is
it's
there.
there
Mm.
for sure. I don't know if I'm going to give it a 1.
I mean, that's
But-
not a bad point, like a good call, because I going into it, I would have said this film is fucking devoid of themes whatsoever. But, like, that's actually solid. Like, I see what you mean there. I just, again, don't think it might not be enough still for a 1, even though it is there. They tried to do that, but to me, they didn't succeed.
You did more with themes than this movie did, in my opinion.
Yeah, listen,
you made
we've
a
been
really
rewriting
good
movies
argument,
nonstop.
man. You did very good. I'm really impressed, man.
If only they had written it
Is
better.
that enough for you to give it a 1, though, in themes?
No, but
Okay. What do you think, E?
I give Steve a 1.
I'm going to
Steve-O,
take
you
a
get
1 for me. Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you.
You made a compelling argument, especially the clown costume thing throughout. It's just that with following Jamie throughout this, I don't see the hints come up that she's turning until it's an abrupt turn.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Agreed.
almost it's a twist ending before Shyamalan did it, and that's why it doesn't.
Oh,
necessarily
Henry
work
was
for
in
me.
before.
Yeah,
Sure. But either way, I agree with that too.
it's a very literary Halloween.
Yeah.
for
nerds
for this
Such
fucking
a
terrible
banal
movie.
Yeah, we have to think of so much better things.
But Steve, now I get more angry at this film because I'm like, if they really went your direction and developed it and had that idea, that could have been a really
if they
compelling
handled
movie.
that theme
You know,
better.
like now that I think about it, this is interesting because it's like you can kind of see like Halloween 1 starts with the murder, so you kind of see what Michael could have been before.
It's like a book
In this movie, it's like what Michael could have been before he actually murdered his sister. Like, clearly he probably talked, and like, but you've never heard Michael talk, but
Rob
you've
Zombie
heard.
did it.
But you've heard. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think I saw that movie. Was that Resurrection or H2O?
H2O.
No, Rob Zombie. is
No,
Halloween.
Rob Zombie.
Oh, he just did regular Halloween. Yeah, that's right.
He gave the whole backstory to Michael Myers. Not important for this one though.
Right.
Uh,
But in terms of like this canon, you've never heard Michael Myers talk, and like this is kind of the, hey, here's what Michael Myers like. Here's the origin story that you've always kind of wondered about. So I think that's
supposed
interesting.
to fill in the blanks.
Again, I don't know if that's theme. I might give
interesting.
that points for style, honestly, or perhaps I should have put it in plot, but I didn't think of it.
I mean, you
until
could
just
change
now.
it now based on that for sure if you want to.
But
There's no rule against it.
you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna give that points for theme, and I'm gonna give theme a 1 for that.
I mean, yeah, that's really solid. Like, it's more than I thought was there at first, for sure, obviously. And you do make a good argument, but I might shift those points into style as well, because it's sort of a gray area, like where that lies. I don't think, for me, my gut feeling is not enough for a 1 for themes at this point.
Okay.
I asked Rich off screen, who's in the audience today, what he thought about your
We're
argument.
polling the audience.
He said give it a 1, and Rich bumped me over on that one. So I'm going to give that one a 1.
All right. Nice job.
Chris, you sticking with 0?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with a 0 because I honestly, if they gave it that much thought, you gave it more. I think you gave it more thought than they did. To be quite honest with you, Steve, and this is a credit to you because
I'm a great
honestly, guy. Well, let's not go crazy, but no. Yes, you are. But
You made a good
you
point
did a
in this
really,
instance,
yeah.
we'll say.
I think you cared more about the theme than they did.
I think that, just one last point on this, I think the screenwriter thought about this, and whatever the director or whatever happened with the film, it fell apart. And they just went with the shallows.
It sort of slipped through the
think
cracks.
That intent was certainly there.
Okay, so I'll take back what I said about the screenwriter, but
Yeah.
as opposed to what made it to the screen, that's what I'm going to judge it on.
Sure.
But I do appreciate both what I got. No, seriously, what you and Steve-O said, I appreciate more, and Rich's thumbs up, I appreciate too. So.
Scott, what did you give it?
I'm giving it a 0 still at the end of the day, but I was very, very close to being convinced because of your guys' points. But just to me, it's just not quite enough still. If they just tweaked it a little bit more, it would have been there.
All right, Chris, on to you with Antagonist.
This is really difficult because in Halloween 2018, we had talked about because this is bookending that. We had talked about that they humanized Michael, and I hadn't seen the Rob Zombie films, but from what you said, they kind of went into his psychology more.
So,
Yeah.
But to me, Michael Myers just became. He was there. He didn't really. I mean, I think they put. I feel like again. I'm going to give the writer the benefit of the doubt, but basically what the director or the editor or the studio, whoever could have fucked up this movie.
The editing was atrocious. We'll get to that, though.
Yeah.
But,
Oh my
I'm
God.
backing you up here.
No, I agree with you. I just very well put. Timing was great. I just feel like he was there. It's just like we need Michael Myers in this film, so let's put Michael Myers.
It's called The
in this.
Return. Like I think
Yeah.
Ian said it well earlier. He was like, well, after the debacle that was Season of the Witch, where they like left Turn out of nowhere, like, all right, let's go back to what you're familiar with, put him back in the film and let him do his thing. But they didn't do anything with it. Like, again, it's all surface shit, so, to me.
See, the problem is that I don't think they returned to Michael Myers here.
No.
Because Michael Myers in 1 and 2, yeah, he's large man who's muscular and can, I believe, could hurt someone if they want to. This one, he's superhuman, more so than he was in. He took gunshots but I felt like it was oddly more believable in the initial two than.
I see what you mean, and I think I'm on board with it.
He's not scary in this.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think
that's the most damning thing.
Agreed.
Too.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So I mentioned before we started this that I don't remember much of this movie, and I saw it 4 days ago or 3 days ago, whatever it was. And I think a lot of it is Michael Myers isn't. What makes Michael Myers scary is all in how he's framed and how he's used. Like, he's a giant character who lumbers around, and there's body language that adds to that, but it's not like that changed. What changed was how they used him, and the fact that I don't remember much about him in this is one of the most damning things about this movie.
As well, on top of what you just said.
Because he is this franchise, right? Like, he's the reason that Halloween matters still. I mean, if there was no such thing as Michael Myers and Season of the Witch was the only thing that ever came out of this franchise, clearly no one would ever know what the fuck it was. Like, sorry, Chris, I know you love that fucking movie, but it's terrible.
And Danielle, shout out to you.
Yeah, Danielle, hello. I'm sorry, you and Chris are both wrong.
We respectfully disagree.
But like, his character in this does not live up to the horror that you think of when you think of Michael Myers. And so I'm going to have to give him a 0.
To build off of what you were saying, I think the appeal of Michael Myers, what makes him terrifying, is that for a man of his size, for a man of his power, he's light-footed. He's the shape. He appears when you should hear him coming, and he's just there.
Yeah.
And here it just doesn't, like, that framing aspect is what is great about it. Here's an example where they do a shot well with him. In the gas station, when Loomis is investigating what's happening, and you know that Michael Myers is near, and then all of a sudden he just appears down a hallway.
Yeah.
Loomis fires and he's gone.
Yeah. That's classic.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually that scene is maybe my favorite scene in this movie, and the most memorable one, and the one that they do references to like every Halloween movie in the new one, and that's the one that they reference in the new one, and it's really good.
Well, I'm gonna say this about Mike Myers. I'm giving him a 0 for this one. But what you said about
don't get too familiar.
Hold on a second. What you said about Michael Myers never returns, and what you said about the psychology of Steve-O, for anybody not watching this, I'm hand gesturing Steve-O.
I thought you meant
about using Jamie as like the mirror. The thing is, if they really made it about Jamie in her transition and Michael Myers returned just to be the catalyst, that's an interesting movie.
Yeah.
But
it's not an interesting movie.
Yeah. No, it's not. But I'm more interested in what you and Steve are coming up with this movie than what we saw.
We often come up with more interesting things than films contain. And I think you guys both nailed it, where he's not scary and they misused him. So I'm going to go with the 0 as well.
Yes.
He's the ultimate. Gotta have him in here too.
Yeah.
All right, on to protagonists with me. I guess I can argue for 2 protagonists.
Jamie and Rachel, I guess, was her babysitter, right?
Yes, whatever. The babysitter and Jamie. And they're fine. I mean,
or actually, no, she's her stepsister,
yes.
but who was also constantly forced to watch her, and she complains about it. I forgot about that.
In front of her.
It's coming back to me now, yeah.
I actually liked the performances. Jamie, for being a child actor, is not that bad.
Fine.
Again, it's kind of, to me, a problem with movies. It's kind of cheap to go to, let's put a child in danger as a plot device.
Yep.
As a framework.
But I think that, following the stepsister, I think she did a fine job, especially she was believable as a obnoxious teenage girl
whose boyfriend cheated on her.
Yeah, she moves from like the entitledness to actually caring about Jamie. So I might give them a 1.
Yeah, she makes some okay moves too, not like in terms of horror, like not the best ones, but okay. And yeah, collectively, like as a team, I guess they might limp over the line for a 1 for me. Like it was good enough, like decent overall.
I've seen plenty of worse protagonists.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much backing you up.
I feel much the same. I think they're going to be good enough for a 1. I like the turn at the end for Jamie. And
it's weird because
I think like it's strangely enough like as much as a lot of this movie is like silly and like just kind of dumb. The turn
it's schlocky.
Is it's something that you could have seen coming, but it's something that you never really expected, I guess, if I can phrase it that way, or I didn't really expect on first watch. So I mean, I like him well enough to give him a 1, I think.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's weird because I normally would like that kind of ending. Not that I dislike it here, it's just that I thought they could have done more with it. But overall, she was a fine protagonist along with her stepsister / babysitter as well.
Yeah.
As Ian and Steve said, the ending would have worked a lot better if it were a richer meal getting there.
Mm.
But to your point about having a child actor, isolating these two compared to everybody else, and sorry to say, including Loomis, I agree with you. I'm going to give them a 1 because the two of them really added empathy to a film that I had no empathy for.
All right.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well said.
Interesting. All right. Steve-O, supporting characters.
I guess Loomis.
Donald Pleasance, man.
Yeah, I mean Loomis is always enjoyable to watch. I don't know if he added much to this movie. I mean, he did his normal Loomis thing.
Again, he followed his
Which was
Loomis
good.
path that he always does.
He Loomised all over the place.
Exactly.
Loomis.
Like there's the shitty boyfriend who I almost forgot existed until just now. Honestly, until I just started trying to think of supporting characters right now. I was like, oh, who else? Who else is in this movie?
You got like her parents, I guess.
It's like the shitty boyfriend, like the sheriff.
And the sheriff that Loomis is finds, of course, as always.
Yeah, that threatens, the shitty boyfriend and her friend who's a shitty friend. Everybody's shitty in this movie.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Wow.
Well, in 2018, we were saying that like the victims were not straw men. All these people were straw.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
Straw
Good
people.
Point.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, you forgot about the Redneck Army though, as well. I
forgot. I did forget about the Redneck Army.
The Redneck Army was awesome.
They were somewhat enjoyable, at least.
They were an amusing diversion.
They would be wearing MAGA hats if it was made into
Yeah. And my favorite supporting character, and this is what I wrote down as a note when we were watching it, was the preacher who picked up Loomis.
Oh yeah,
the one the one in the broken down
the random apocalyptic preacher guy.
Yes,
yeah, with
that
all
guy
the
was awesome.
It's funny because
when he was drinking in the road,
Yeah, Steve-O said when we were during the viewing, he was like, "This guy's definitely my favorite side character," and no, you literally forgot about him. 3 days until you did.
I immediately
that guy
put
was
notes
great.
down in case I forgot.
Sure, he was in a scene for like 5 minutes, and it was pretty fucking solid. But...
He immediately reminded me of George Carlin's character in was it Jane Silent Bob Strike Back?
Yes.
When he picks him up on and the fucking dragon goes through the rules of hitchhiking or whatever. That's who that guy reminded me of.
Sure, I mean, it was a great little amusing diversion and all.
I wouldn't call it I don't know. I'm probably gonna give this a 0.
I have a question.
Sure.
For everyone here.
Ask.
First of all, why? 2 questions. Why is everyone in this town awful? That's the main thing I remember. They're just
because Illinois blows.
Bad people.
Don't listen to him, people from Illinois.
Second, so there's 3 kids who dress up like Michael Myers.
Oh, what a bunch of dickheads!
Oh my God, what a!
Oh yeah, I forgot about that too.
Hold on. A nationally known mass murderer wore this Halloween mask.
Also, he's on the loose, and everybody knows it.
They're still selling that mask in stores? Where did they get those? Did they make them themselves?
I think
they kept getting Captain Kirk masks and spray painting them white.
I mean, that's hilarious and a good question. Is that what else did you ask? Yeah.
Again, I think
really
this happens.
So you're giving mask makers a 0 for supporting character?
For endangering the youth.
Yeah. He's given the whole asshole town a 0, I think, and I'm gonna put. If not, that's what
This
I'm
First of
town
all-
deserves Michael Myers.
See, here's the thing, right?
I was hoping one of those kids would get fucking shot for doing that, and they didn't, and I'm
Didn't they
furious
in the
about
second
it.
one? Didn't someone
Yeah.
get shot for wearing the Michael Myers mask?
Yeah, but Michael Myers was still rampaging, so it didn't. He wasn't mimicking Michael Myers, and he accidentally got hit by a cop and burned up.
Yeah, remember
Oh,
it was a big
right.
explosion.
Yeah.
I do remember that. But no, like again, it's tough because aside from Loomis / Donald Pleasance, everyone else kind of sucks for sure. Kind of totally sucks. So I would normally like our normal tradition is to give the one you like the most who did a good job. But I don't know if Loomis even can outweigh everyone else's.
It would be Loomis and Dude and Truck.
I was gonna say,
Those are
Dude
my-
and Truck and Redneck Army. Is that enough to give it a 1?
Is it? I don't know. You have to
It's
decide.
tough. I will say this: Loomis drives a lot of the action too. Like he's not quite protagonist, never really has been. Like it's really close, but definitely not in this one. At least not to as much as degree as the first two. So, given that, I might give it a softest of all ones ever just for him.
All right.
But everyone else can go fucking suck it, pretty much.
I'm not giving Loomis a 1 because I expect better out of my
Agreed.
Loomis.
You want better DP.
Maybe.
Donald Pleasance.
Yeah, I understand what you were saying.
Sorry, my head went elsewhere. for a
Yeah.
moment.
Oh, what? What do you mean?
Other shit's going elsewhere too.
I absolutely
I make
agree
Chris
with you.
take off his mask.
All right.
But this wasn't
See, now
Donald
you,
Pleasance's
now you got me
best performance.
questioning it. Yeah, like
as Loomis.
that's a good point
he
too.
we didn't wave his gun at enough people in this.
That's
Absolutely.
true.
You know
That's
what?
100% true.
That's going to be the thing that switches me back to a 0.
Less
Right.
people waved gun at than normal.
He's not Loomis enough.
He's not Loomising on. He's
He
at
didn't bring
like,
his A game.
he's at like 60 Loomises. He needs to be at like 100 Loomises.
Exactly.
I'll take an 80 or above.
Fair enough.
Guys, you're going to need some more Loomis, and you didn't do it, so that's
Yeah.
really funny. But I think in seriousness, you did switch me back to a 0.
Okay. I decided that the Redneck Army was window dressing and not really supporting characters, and the preacher, the one supporting character that I thought was funny, wasn't enough to propel this to the 1. So I'm right on a 0 with you.
Yeah, he was an interesting character, but like he shows up and then never comes back, so there was almost no point. It was like a fancy quarter.
You guys are really making me want to make my answer a 1 because both of you changed your answers to 0s, and I'm like, I feel like there's got to be something there. There's got to be something there worth a 1.
Yeah, here's the
Sell
thing.
us on it, Steve-O.
The town is so like I this is the thing I remember.
They're a
from
bunch
it.
of assholes.
They're unpleasant people.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's true.
So I think that's just what we're saying at the end of the day.
Actually, to be honest with you, Jamie and our protagonists became stronger characters on the fact that, you know what, these really two were the only non-horrible
Juxtaposed
people.
against the other dickheads
Yeah,
in
I'm
town.
liking our protagonists more and more as we talk about this movie.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna give it a 0. You guys convinced me to give it a 0, but with
Let's succumb to peer
Your
pressure.
points were
with big ups to the guy in the truck,
Sure.
and that's basically it. Like honestly, if Loomis was better in this movie, I would have given it a 1, but
Yeah,
he wasn't.
Exactly.
I did like just the competency of the cop in the house.
Yeah.
Scene, and so that's
But he was
something-
still annoying. Why was his daughter wearing? By the way, can I ask
That was
this
his
question?
style.
Why was his daughter like? He walked in a house. His daughter was wearing a shirt and underwear, and the shirt said, "What did it say?
Cops do it by the book."
by the book." I was like, hold on. Did he get that shirt for his daughter?
It doesn't
Like
matter at
that
all.
that turns him into the biggest asshole in town immediately.
If she wasn't my
Damn
daughter,
right.
we'd be dating.
I think she raided his closet. It doesn't actually matter, but we did make
Why
a
would he
joke
have
of
like
that.
a pink shirt that says
It
"Cops do it by the
it
book"?
was yellow, but it doesn't
Yeah, whatever.
fucking matter. It also should be the style, but yeah, it's
Okay.
again a funny, stupid thing that was there. But
Scott dialogue.
all right, 0 off the bat. Like, here's the thing, it's weird because again, it's a fine line in a sense that between 1, 2, and like 18, like because we keep coming back to them as touchstones, like to compare them to, like you can't quite put your finger on it. Or maybe you can, but to me, it just didn't get there. Like people are saying the shit that you expect them to say, but there's no soul behind it in a sense. They're going through the motions, like you said, like the return of Michael Myers. Here it is, and here's all the shit that people should be saying, but nobody's really getting into it. It's all just flat and stale and bland, and like it's definitely not memorable at all. It's the things they're gonna say in these situations, sure, but there's no life behind it. So That's my argument for a soft 0, if not a strong 0.
You know what infuriated me, and I'm going to give this a 0 for a bunch of reasons, but here's the one I'm going to say. The scene where her foster sister goes on a rant about how terrible her life is because she has to babysit this chick tonight. And, like, you know what? They were trying for, like, a standard teenage, like, oh, woe is me because everything's against me monologue, and it was so terrible that it, like,
good point.
went below that to the point where I just, for that and other reasons, I can't give this
to that
one.
Character's credit. Like at the beginning, they made her like this another shitty person, but she actually bonded with Jamie, and those are the only two characters that actually had growth in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, like, nothing specific to that, but we keep saying this movie's forgettable, and the dialogue is certainly that. Like, again, it's been a struggle to remember bits and pieces of this movie, even though, like you said, Zivo, we literally just saw a couple days ago.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, that's my evidence for a lot of stuff that I'm giving a bad score, like, taking credit away from.
And I remember Jamie's an orphan. I'm not sure if it's because the kids kept singing it, repeating it over and over.
Yeah, they shot it into her face like 20 times.
The Lori from the original one was her mother, and they show a picture of her at one point.
Oh, you mean a publicity still? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Sure. Either way, still 0 for me.
And the other piece of dialogue I'll remember, if you've made it this far, if you've listened to the introductions, the quote I have on the introduction, which I don't think any of you have heard yet, those are the only two memorable things, and they're sure as hell not enough to give this thing a 1.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to give this a 1 because of nostalgia.
Mm-hmm. The thing you hate?
The thing
One
I
of the
hate the
things you
most.
dislike the most, yes.
Wow.
I'm going to be a hypocrite here, but I've seen this Halloween more than any other Halloween.
Strange.
Because it was on Sci-Fi Channel constantly when I was growing up.
That's how I saw Season of the Witch.
Yeah.
It's weird. I never saw 4. This is the first time I've seen 4.
Yeah. Like this one, I don't know, this one was just,
But okay.
I always caught it.
Yeah.
And Loomis's speeches in this, not because they're his best speeches, but because they're my introduction to his speeches.
Fair enough.
The person who I perhaps modeled my own speeches after, I certainly modeled my gun waving after him.
Technique, learned it from him.
I may have to give this a 1 just for that reason.
Like, I get it.
It's not a fair one, but it's
fine.
Yeah.
We've set precedent with that, for sure.
Wow.
But okay. Go on.
All right. So, Chris. Style?
Yes.
Style?
I had to
As if there were, like... I'm sorry, before your answer, Chris, it felt as if you were asking, like, if there was any at all.
I was going to say this, that remind me of Steve's question. Aside from that one shot, I am going to say this is pretty much standard by the book. If you've seen any 80s slasher movie,
No,
you've
it's worse
seen
than
this
that.
one. No, I'm giving this a 0, big time.
Okay,
There was
good.
no style. I mean, what I'm saying is, when I said this is an off-brand Halloween movie, I mean this was like stocked with 80s. This is like a 80s trope slasher film. Without, I mean, at least with the Jason films, they try to think of new and creative way. At least when they're retreading the same ground, they try to make them funny, as you
Or
said.
switch things up or do something else.
Yeah, this wasn't. There's even the things weren't even remote. You didn't get me. They didn't get me interesting putting a shotgun through somebody's chest. I mean, and pinning them up against the wall. If you can't make that at least amusing, as
You know you're fucking up.
yeah,
Sure. Like like I said, like I mentioned earlier, the editing was strange and off-putting. Like at certain points, like transitions were odd.
atrocious was a great word to use, Scott.
So like again, it took you out. Like it felt as if they left a lot on the cutting room floor, and they're like, "Well, we have to make these scenes like go together." So just literally just slap them together. Like I noticed that like at least 3 or 4 times throughout. So it didn't flow well, and yeah, like there's nothing wrong with like the shots themselves, I guess, but there was nothing standout either. But because of the weird transitions and shit like that, and it like you said, the off-brand thing is the more I think about it, the funnier and more accurate I think it is, because it felt as if it was rushed or something like that, and it just wasn't all coming together. So therefore, I was noticeably like off. So I got to give it a 0.
It's interesting. There are a couple things I liked about this. Obviously, like the Carpenter music, always good. I thought the sound effects were all right.
I don't remember them at all. That's the thing.
The audio syncing was way off.
Yes.
Like especially in the beginning. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but like
Oh yeah.
I did.
the lip sync was like way off right in the beginning, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" Especially
That's
in
what
the
I'm saying.
In the asylum scene or whatever
The hospital, yeah.
in the hospital scene. So I think we watched a TV edit,
That's true. We might have, but
and there were scenes where I don't know if this was built into the movie or not because of the version that we watched, but there were like obvious commercial breaks
yes,
that didn't go to commercial because we had commercials in our.
that's true. And maybe
edit that
because
we
it was
watched.
that edit, like that cut of made for TV, but I
It
still
was
think
very strange. Like it would just like cut to black for a second and then go on to the next scene. I was like, "What the fuck was that?"
yeah, that's what I was talking about.
I mean, you've seen made-for-TV movies before that were definitely better. Regardless of those cuts, you can tell if something's edited well from what happens between those two things. You got to take into account like what a commercial break's gonna be like.
So I mean, like regardless of that, I thought, well, not regardless of that I'm going to take into account for sure. But
in addition to that,
I thought some shots were okay. Like the cinematography wasn't the worst, but it also wasn't great.
Yeah,
by any means.
exactly.
It was. I don't know. I'm probably gonna agree and give it a 0. I'm trying to find a reason to give this to 1 to be honest, because
Well, I don't have that for you, but
yeah,
I will mention one more thing.
I don't think I'm going to though.
Perhaps to back up, like why we all should give it a 0. Even the kills themselves. Again, maybe it was because it was a TV edit, but I can't be sure.
No, we
But
looked up the kills, and
That's true.
Yeah, look at the actual
That's
kills.
true,
They're
we did
basically
do
the
that.
same.
Even so, all I'm saying, like they were weak. They weren't as like. Again, they were choppily edited, and that's the worst to me. Like when you notice that, like it just takes you out of the film, and you're like, you can't really. It's hard to get back into it. So
This is a horror film. You have to be scary. You got to be funny. This is
it was neither. Yes, exactly. Well said.
Good point.
Yep,
It failed at its basic premise.
you're right. Absolutely.
All right. And on to me with recommendation. Although this is the one I've seen the most.
Seeing a
This
film
is-
20 times doesn't make it good.
Yeah, it's not a good horror movie. It's not a good Halloween movie. It's the beginning of that weird middle ground of the Halloween series.
Yeah, exactly. The era
that
of them.
is-
Yeah.
We're gonna have to deal with it for the next couple of years if we continue this.
Yep. Hopefully it gets better. I don't think it does.
So it gets better.
Okay.
You just saw the one that got better.
yes,
Well, yes. After another 20 years, it gets better.
Sure.
I do like the Busta Rhymes one though, but
Which we will get
because
to.
it's funny, not
coming
because
up.
it's scary.
oh yeah.
Anyway,
But like you said, you're right. This one is neither of those, and it's just again, the more and more thing about it, the funnier it becomes. It again, the more accurate it is that it's an off-brand Halloween movie. It's as if somebody bootlegged the Halloween movie. Was like, "Want to see a new Halloween movie? Return of Michael Myers." Like
We're
it's
selling it to you on in Chinatown.
yeah, exactly. Like some guy's like bootlegging on a fucking like table or some shit, right? But like all I'm saying, because of all that, there's no way I can recommend it. Just skip it. Fucking. I almost want to say watch Season of the Witch instead of this.
Oh, I
some weird
absolutely
degree.
recommend Season of the Witch.
Disagree. Worse than Season of the Witch. Worse than this.
But either way, definitely skip this
No.
one.
Come on.
Let's not delve into that. But
Season of the Witch is nonsense.
do see Halloween 1 and 2, the original, and 2018. Do not see Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. It is not worth it.
This was I remembered more of this movie in our discussions, and again, I've seen it twice and saw it the other day. This movie is not memorable, like we were saying about
100% forgettable.
2018. Like you look at like 2018 or the original, they're good movies. This is not a good movie. This is not a funny movie. This is not a good horror movie. This isn't the antithesis of entertainment.
Jesus. Which I love as a phrase.
Yeah,
Brutal.
I like it.
not that bad.
Guess that must be a 0 then.
What's your score? Okay, 0.
and I really wish back at the beginning of the summer we saw Hereditary, and I had a visceral reaction of it because I revised it in my blog, which is on our website.
Can't stop harping on Hereditary.
No. But the thing is, I appreciate Hereditary more. I mean, it was a grief film, and I wasn't expecting to go through that grief. And a lot of the movie, for any piece, the reason I'm saying that is because I review a movie like this, and this movie deserves it. And I came down harder on Hereditary than I do, and watching this movie and giving the score that I'm giving it makes me really wish I could go back and give Hereditary some digestive time and review it.
I'm not gonna mention anything. I'm not gonna say anything.
I'm just saying that because
I will say something though.
Go on.
Scores.
Okay.
I gave Halloween 4 a 4.
Oh,
Did you really?
Best score.
is that the highest?
Yes, it's the highest. Steven gave it the middle ground with 3, and Scott and Chris, you both gave it a 2, giving it a 2.75 overall.
It's one of our lowest reviewed films ever, if not the lowest.
Now, would you rather watch this or Fantastic Four?
Oh man, that's like
This.
the worst.
Oh my god.
I don't know. If
I don't have to think about it.
Can I just
It's this.
choose?
I'd rather watch this
somehow
one.
and watch neither.
Wait, which one's longer? Is this one shorter?
I don't know. It's not very long.
Ooh,
It's
that might
88 minutes
that
or
might
something.
determine like what I want to watch. Seriously.
How yeah.
That was a 3.5 or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was 3.4.
I'll tell you this. I didn't see it, but having to edit it and find clips for it, I think I'd rather see this than that Leprechaun movie you guys watched. I mean, just editing that and listening to your review depressed me. So,
like, I don't know. And
God
also,
damn
the
it.
camera just died.
Well, we gave our scores, so I guess it doesn't matter. We might as well just end this. And
Yeah.
All right, well, whatever. I'm Jonathan Ian Manzer, and we may be recording, we may not. It might be Michael Myers. It might not. Who knows? Christopher Morgan.
good night. Happy Halloween.
Scott Thurlow.
Can't wait for next year for 5.
And Stephen Hermosi.
Well, in like 4 years, we'll have another good Halloween movie, I think.
Editing and engineering by Christopher Morgan. Music by Christopher Morgan. Check us out on YouTube and iTunes for the shows, and on Facebook and Twitter for updates.